Man, every time I hear that intro, I get hyped. Good evening.
Okay.
What's going on, my man?
What's happening?
Hey, it's November 14th, Sunday, another edition of Soapbox Sundays. My man Dan in the house with myself, Cool C one, ready to do another interesting few topics to finish up the week or get you started for the new week, I guess I should say. But can't go too much further without talking about our local football team. How about those Lions?
Yeah, I didn't see the game, man. All I saw was that they
You
did.
didn't miss nothing.
Okay.
And that's anybody out there who know I'm a huge Steelers fan. So this was a tough day for me. I,
Hmm.
tend to do like most of the teams in the league and actually count the game against the Lions. I count that as an L in my head before the game even started. And I'm sorry, I counted it as a win. Let me correct myself. Even though we didn't lose, but I just tend to see the Lions on the schedule, and most people would say, "Hey, here we go, another win." But
Hmm.
yet again, the Lions, as you said, they didn't lose, but they didn't win, and the game was just it was theirs for the winning. I don't know how they missed a 40-yard field goal, but
Who
hey,
did?
the Lions had a
Okay.
chance to take the go ahead walk off field goal and end the game and missed it. Missed it badly. So they really missed Matt Prater.
Hmm.
But anyway, man, it's as I said, November the 14th, we're getting to the end of the year. Can't believe it. We're about what a week out from the week of Thanksgiving. Monday after next will be Thanksgiving week. Everyone to get out and start. Hopefully, I heard somebody on the radio make a comment saying, "Hey, make sure you go get your elbow noodles now. If you think you're gonna find some of those on Wednesday at the grocery store, you're gonna be mad. Go get your noodles and your fuel necessities. Get them sooner than later because I think people are a little
Hmm.
fed up with this COVID, and I really think they're gonna try to enjoy this Thanksgiving a little bit more than last year. I think you need to still be careful and wear your mask if you're going to be around a lot of people. But I think people are sick and tired of being going through COVID. So this Thanksgiving will be a little bit more family oriented than last year. Anyway, man, what you got going on today, man? I'm sure you got some interesting topics you love to get into.
I do. I do. Shay want to jump in with us, but I'm up first. Before we do that, I want to recap a little bit about
Okay,
the last time we was on, and Marlon was talking to us about Dr. Fauci and Rand Paul. So he told us to go to YouTube and do our research.
okay,
And he told us that Dr. Fauci was financing coronavirus research in Wuhan, China, and we needed to go to Fox News and YouTube because Rand Paul said so. So I looked at the situation and found out that um, he didn't actually finance anything in Wuhan, China. The NIH had a grant that they gave to a research firm. The National Institute of Health ended up giving a grant to a firm, and the situation was surrounding gain of function research. And I found out that gain of function research is basically about studies or research that improve the ability of a pathogen to cause disease. And it was banned at one point in the U.S. And when the company saw that they researched, the company was Echo Health, and when they saw that what they were doing was leaning towards gain of function, they actually halted the experiment that they was doing on their own. Nobody had to stop them, or they didn't get cut off or anything like that. They kind of policed themselves regarding the situation. So Dr. Fauci didn't personally fund research in Wuhan, China. It was through the NIH, and it was regarding gain of function. and that's basically what it was about. And if you're not a scientist or a researcher, you don't know what gain of function is. I barely understand it, and I read on it for probably a week straight. Uh, trying to get my hands around what it was, and you kind of, it's deep in science. So, not something that I deal with on a regular basis. So, it's not something that I think the layperson will really even understand. So that was it. I looked at that.
Okay.
I know that uh, Dr. Fauci is a physician, scientist, and immunologist, serving as a director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease and chief medical advisor to the president. He was appointed the director of AID in 1984, oversaw research for polio, HIV/AIDS, preventative disease, diagnosis of infectious disease, things like that. Um, and I know he, got a bunch of scientific publications, bunch of awards, well known. Rand Paul is senator from Kentucky. He has an MD in ophthalmology, which was,
Okay.
um, study of eye disease. And he had to recertify. Apparently, you supposed to recertify every 10 years by the American Board of Ophthalmology. The 10-year rule was put in place 3 years prior to Rand Paul getting his certification, and he didn't think it was fair. So he set up his own board and certified himself after he created the board and created the test. Um, and his National Board of Ophthalmology is not accepted as an accredited entity, nor is its certification considered to be valid in the ophthalmology field. So that's what I learned that he did, and where his scientific information comes from, or his background, and Dr. Fauci's background. That's what I saw. So
Oh, okay.
the
Well, like you
claim
said,
was,
don't believe everything you hear. Go do your own research because it sounded a little interesting to me. So I'm glad we were able to clear that up for any of you that
yeah. So
was listening
the
last
claim
time when
was
we had him on.
the claim was incorrect. So let me pop Shay in here. She just popped on. What's happening?
What up, dog?
What
Nothing
up,
much.
Miss
Nothing much. What
Shay?
good with you?
Everything.
All right. I like
Look,
that. I like that
I
answer.
heard y'all. Look, the bad part, y'all volume is so low on my phone. It's ridiculous.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can fix my volume right quick.
Get that volume
Then
fixed right
it's
quick.
like y'all was talking about the Lions. Look, my husband here.
Yeah.
He was already like, "Oh, the Lions did a whole tie. That's cute."
They
Yeah, that's
didn't
like
lose.
kissing your sister.
They didn't lose, but they didn't win.
Yeah,
They
that's
didn't lose.
like
That's
that
what's most
time.
important. That's what's most important. They didn't lose today.
Yeah.
So Shay, we was finishing up recapping from the topic we had with Mr. Marlon Terry a couple of weeks back. We had a show with him on and just was following up with some things he said to do research on, and the research was done and found in regards to Fauci and Rand Paul, he was off on both of those particular
Right.
topics.
Oh my God, y'all volume is horrible.
No, it's just you.
Let's
My
do a volume
my
check out there. Can you hear us? Give us a thumb up in the
I done
comments.
turned it up all the way, and y'all feel like
It's just
yeah.
you can hear me though. That's all that matters.
That's what I hear, like a whisper. I had to
Is
do
your
this.
Bluetooth on?
No, I just got it on my phone.
Yeah, okay. All right. What you got, an Android or something?
No, I have an iPhone.
Oh, okay. You're the
Oh,
only
that's
one can't hear. So, all right. So, what I want to get into today, we had a situation with bullying that took place in Utah. Um, Little girl killed herself. Um, about a week ago, a 10-year-old autistic black girl in Utah died by suicide weeks after her name was Isabella. Weeks after the DOJ released a report on the district, a settlement was made to remedy severe racial harassment of Black and Asian American students in the Davis School District in Utah. The agreement required the Davis School District to address racially hostile environment and discriminatory discipline. The investigation was opened July 2019 and focused on the period from 2015 to 2020, revealed that there was persistent failures to respond to reports of race-based harassment of Black and Asian students. They found hundreds of documented uses of N-word among staff and other students, among other racial epithets, derogatory racial comments, physical assaults targeting district students at dozens of schools, and it found that the district disciplined Black students more harshly than their white peers. Now, under the agreement, the Davis School District had to retain a consultant to review and revise anti-discriminatory policies and procedures and support the district as it undertook significant institutional reforms. I'm not sure how a racist district's supposed to police themselves,
Right.
but they had
That's
to
what I
create
think.
a
And
department.
mind you, that's exactly what you just said is exactly what I was thinking. Like, how is
Right.
it that the problem is supposed to police the problem? If you are part of the problem, you cannot
Right.
police the problem. That doesn't work.
So they
That's
gotta
like
create
throwing
a
grease on a fire and talking about,
yeah,
oh,
they
we're
gotta
gonna solve
create
it. No.
a they gotta create a department to handle racial complaints, train staff on how to identify, investigate, and respond to complaints of racial harassment and discriminatory discipline practices.
How is that going to happen in Utah?
I don't know. Um, so
What is the Black
um,
population in Utah?
I'm not really sure what it is in
If
Utah, but I
I'm
can
not
find.
mistaken, and mind you,
Yeah,
I am not always correct, it is about 5%.
yeah,
And that might
that's
be
bad.
high.
It's pretty much like Oregon. Like Oregon is about 10%.
Hmm.
Utah is probably half of that. And that's a guesstimate on my part. I'm not gonna say I am exactly correct, but at the same time, but the one thing that you touched on that I feel is extremely important for us as African American people, no matter what, you cannot expect to be in a predominantly oppressive situation with the people who
Hmm.
do not understand your life, your genetics, your problems, your issues, your generational nothing, and then think that they are going to cater to you or that they are going to think you're important. No. That's like us as Americans going to Australia and they like, who are you? Like the hell? Like you don't even know our laws. You don't know nothing about us. You can't be somewhere that that's not predominantly you. And I'm not saying
So
that black
you
people
think
should
all the
just
black people supposed to
stay
move out of
away.
Utah?
Huh?
You think all the black people supposed to move out of Utah?
No, I don't think they should move out of Utah, but at the same time, I feel like no matter what, you should always realize and understand where you are. Period. Whether you're in Utah, you in Chicago, you in California, you in
Hmm.
Wisconsin, you in Texas, you in Manhattan. It don't matter where you are. You should always know and be aware of where you are and how this government functions and moves, because you can find yourself in a very jacked up predicament only because you don't know or understand your surroundings. Not code. And that's just the truth. Like, as black people, the one thing that we do, we just try to move and matriculate through stuff and not know who and where we're moving and matriculating around. And then we get mad because we get treated a different way. This is the thing. If you saw what it was before you said, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna move here and set roots here."
Hey, some of them people
If
might have been born there.
who?
I
And
don't
this is the
know.
bad part. That's like saying, "Oh, well, I was born in the projects. That means that I should stay in the projects, or I understand the projects." No, just because you were born here does not mean you have to
Mhm.
stay here.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But
But at the same
bullying
time,
overall,
the projects is
overall,
different because, for one, you're probably going to be around your people.
right.
But when you move somewhere
Overall, I'm
that
gonna
is
say,
predominantly different culturally from you, you cannot expect them to understand or be empathetic to who
mhm,
and what you are, what you're going through, or what you're gonna go through.
I
You can't.
understand that. But overall,
You
I'm gonna
can't.
say that this was a case of bullying that happens everywhere. Bullying is a problem
The bad part is
everywhere.
that happened in a situation where she did not have a community to back her.
Right.
Like, and that is the part that is critical. You don't have that kind of community strength to back you on what happened to your child, because your community is only 5% of the population. That's nothing.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna even give it 10% of the population. That's still nothing. Especially when I come from Detroit, born and raised. We have either been 80 to 95% of the population. There's no
Of
way something's
Detroit.
gonna happen in
Of
our
Detroit.
community, in the city of Detroit, period,
Yeah.
that the black community is not either going to come together about, fight about, like, just be on
Yeah,
something
we're in a
and come
predominantly
together.
black city, not a black state.
Yeah, it's
So
like
yeah.
that's totally different. Like, you like, literally, and I feel horrible for her, for that child's family, but you are in a butt naked state. Like, you are
Hmm.
butt naked there. Like, you have no coverage. You have no backing. You have nobody who outside of your family and your quote unquote community who is this
Hmm.
big that's gonna show up and show out. You're gonna
Right.
have to have people that's willing to travel from other places to stand up and stand in for you. That's not cool. Because, for one, who's gonna do that?
I mean, they've been getting some support. For this particular
Yeah, from a
situation, they getting some
distance.
support.
This is my thing.
Yeah.
I don't report. I literally don't understand distance support, because my thing is, I don't need you to be over there. Over there. I don't need that.
Mhm.
I need you to be standing right here when the shit's happening, when I gotta cut somebody out, when I gotta act a fool, when I gotta pay my bills, when I gotta do this, when I gotta fight off other people. I need you right here.
Well, it
I
ain't a
don't
bunch
need
of black
you to
folks
be
in
sending me
Utah, so
letters
we
and
we
money.
gotta support Utah, black folks in Utah from a distance. Cause I'm
You
not about to go to Utah.
you say what?
I said we gotta support black people in Utah from a distance. I'm not going to Utah.
Okay, so how do you do that?
You can help bring awareness to the situation like we doing, or you could donate to help them if they need donations, which they don't. I think I ain't gonna say they don't. They trying to raise two hundred and
Not
fifty
everybody.
thousand,
Everybody need a little
and
help.
they
Everybody need a
made
little help.
they up like 140 right now. The Utah Jazz hit them with 50,000 a day, so they they on their way to where they trying to be.
But at the same time, money does not take away from personal energy. It just doesn't.
Oh no, I don't. I'm
It
not
doesn't.
saying that.
Like,
I'm not saying
it
that at
doesn't.
all. I agree with
Like,
you
I
on that.
won't, like, best case scenario that I can reach for, when I got laid off because I was pregnant, and this was in
Hmm.
2012. I did not care, and not saying, "Oh, well, fuck what y'all doing." I did not care about the people that were contributing money to help my situation. I
Yeah.
cared about the people who made sure I got to court, who made sure my children got to school, who made sure that my grass was cut, who made sure that I had groceries, who made sure
Mm-hmm.
that my bills was paid. And it wasn't a thing of, oh, they're contributing money. They literally said, hey, how much is this bill? And they paid it. If they knew about what was going on, they showed up for court just because they were like, hey, this shit ain't cool. I got laid off just for being pregnant. That's not cool. That's a life
Mm-hmm.
choice. And the same thing with this. You're a person. There is no way you should be getting bullied for who and what you are on no level.
Yeah, I mean that's
Color,
true,
life
but it's
choice,
happening.
sexuality choice,
It's happening.
none of that.
You know what I mean?
That's not acceptable.
It's not. Which is a
But
matter of fact, it's happening in Bloomfield. The kids walked out on Friday, walked right out of the school because they protesting racial discrimination and staff not responding to their reports at Bloomfield High School. So it's happening locally.
this is the bad part. It's happening locally with us, but it gets shut down so quickly because we have the neighborhood support and the personnel support as far as the people that live around that shit. They like, no, they're not cool. Not gonna happen. Negative.
No, they've been
We
dealing
live
with
out
this
here
shit
just
for
like
years.
y'all
It
live out
ain't
here.
it ain't it ain't been shut down quick. Matter of fact, one of the
No, I said
mothers.
it can be. I didn't say it will
Oh,
be. It
well,
can be.
it can be. It
It
can
can be.
be.
It can be dealt more
And,
aggressively than someone who's sitting here by themselves.
yeah. Yeah, one of the mothers pulled her daughter out the school. She said they uh, had a sexual racism and sexual assault claim that was ignored by the administration. So the administration told them they don't listen to rumors.
Oh, wow.
This is the bad part, and no pun to black women, black men, or the black family. The one thing that I think we have the biggest problem is that we talk too much before we should.
Okay.
There is no reason why anyone should know that that happened before your attorney does.
Who got
Because
money for an attorney?
this is the bad part. That situation, there are so many attorneys who will be like, oh no, I will
Yeah,
go ahead and jump on that pro bono right now
but
because they
people don't know
already
that.
know what's coming in on the back end. Like, black people so busy looking at the dollar sign. Oh my goodness, it's gonna cost this, it's gonna cost that. No. When someone is dead on balls wrong, you can send their ass through the ringer and get all their shit and get your shit
Hmm.
paid for, and you come out on top and you're good because you have been rectified from the bullshit that they sent you through. But my thing is, you cannot sit here and just keep your mouth shut because you're afraid to
Right.
keep it from your family, your friends, and it. No, because guess what? Your family and your friends and all this other stuff, those are the people that are going to mess stuff up. You need to keep it quiet. Talk to the person who knows the law, and that's it. Deal
Hmm.
with it and go from there. Because if you sit up here, oh my goodness, guess what happened? Okay, if you are not going to help me rectify this situation, and I mean rectify this 100%, why are we talking? There's no reason for us to have a conversation. None.
Hmm.
None. When I went through what I went through with me having a kid with DPD, I wasn't out here like, oh, you know what, DPD ain't shit. Da, da, da. I was like, you know what? I've been in this career. I love this career. It is what it is. I get it.
Hmm.
I talked to my attorney after that. I was like, I have nothing else to say. Anybody on DPD that asks me about it, I'm good. No, I can't talk about it.
Right.
If you're not doing anything to help this situation go forward and be rectified, there's no reason for me to talk to you about it. And we and y'all know, like, black people, we like to talk. We talk.
Hmm.
No, I don't need to talk to you about my situation unless you're gonna fix it. Period. And that's the bad part. Like, I look up and I have friends, family, situations I see, distant friends. I'm like, why you just ain't keep your mouth shut? Like, talk to the person that is going to help you. Don't put this on social media. Don't be talking to nobody that don't have no connections to make your shit better. None of that. No, that's not how this works. And I hate to say this. Actually, no, I don't. It's the truth. White people don't do that. We do that. White people do not sit up here and tell everybody their whole damn business about who they suing and why they suing or why they mad. They be like, oh, you fucked me? No problem. And they do what they need to do. They don't involve nobody else. They don't be looking for no sympathy. They don't be talking to everybody. And even if they do, they keep that under wraps.
I think some people might be
Italians,
intimidated by that because they
Mexicans,
don't know the
everybody else
process.
do that but us.
Yeah, everybody don't know that process, so I don't think people always
You don't
comfortable with
have
it.
to need to know the process. Guess what? The biggest rule of the black community was what happens in this house stays in this house. That is the one thing that a lot of us have forgotten.
I think
Hmm.
And
it's a
it
little
does not
deep.
just address, hey, we ain't gonna tell the outside world this shit that happened. No, keep it here, keep it at home. And
I
that's
think
it.
the biggest thing here, and I won't. Uh, I'll keep it to the difference between blacks and others. It's a lack of education. Like
Hmm.
Dan was saying, you compared what white people will do when it comes to dealing with legalities and things of that
There's
nature.
no lack of education anymore.
No, no,
You
hear
do
me
know
out.
that. There's no
Hear
lack
me
of
out.
education
Hear me
anymore.
out. Because it is a lack of education.
No,
Because
it's
it's a
not.
lack of. Hear me out.
There's no this the thing.
Hear
It's
me
not a
out.
lack of
Maybe
education.
maybe education is not the right
It's a
word.
lack of dealing with the resources. Like, you have
And
resources to
a
learn
prime
what you need to
example
learn.
a prime example would be saying we should know better than to drink alcohol and just sit up and smoke and do drugs all day. But when you go in the black community and there's a liquor store on every other corner and the lack of education, those white kids you talking about know better, or white people know better than to talk about it. They grew up having a family attorney their whole life. So to go on to somebody and being able to talk about legalities is something that they were just taught and were raised on, whereas we're not. We're not
No,
raised
but
on. We talk about going to get a lawyer, but we don't
but
typically
no,
have a
but
lawyer or
no.
know a lawyer.
We have
We
all
in
been, as black children, we have all been built and bred on what happens in the family stays in the family. Period.
right, but
And
we
then, but
talking
guess
about a
what?
social media
Now, no,
society
no,
we
no,
live
no, no.
in.
Give me 1 second. In this day and age, because so many parents who are us, me, you, we all know, we are in our 40s and 50s. We have educated our children. Guess what? Our family is not built on just hairdressers and drug dealers. No, that's not what we're doing. We
I'm
have
talking
people who
about the
have
society we live
educations, who
in now
know the
with
law and
social
everything
media.
else. So what happens here stays here. But when I tell you that, tell me what's happening so I can tell you which way and which direction to go. That's the difference between Italian families, white families, Chinese families, and us. Like, we sit up here for the longest, like you said, oh, we didn't have that knowledge. We living in a whole different generation. We living in a whole different technical time period. Our kids, the bad part, our kids have more access to legal information than we ever did. So my thing
They
is,
have. They've
people
always
keep
had the
missing me.
access to it, but having access to it and knowing the. I mean, it's like telling somebody to go do your research, but don't teach them how to do research. It's like telling somebody go
If you
and
can Google,
go
if you can Google porn, you can Google legal anything. So no,
right. But I'm
you
saying that,
can't tell me, oh, well, I didn't know. Well, guess what? If you was Googling porn, you can Google how to get yourself out of jail or how to get yourself out of prison, how to get
but
yourself out of this
we're
problem,
not talking about once you
how to
in it.
stop
We talking
talking
about the way
when
you
you shouldn't be
move
talking.
in general. You talking about once a situation happened, but we talking about in general. Everything people do now, they're putting it on social media, and to your point, because you're saying we talk
But
too
this
much,
is
we
the
get on
thing.
there and
That's
we're
not
saying
my
things
fault.
that we shouldn't be saying. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying it's a
No, when I
reality.
say
When we talk
when I
about the
say it's
younger
not my fault,
generation,
when I say it's not my fault, I'm not saying me personally. I'm saying as a parent or an adult, that's not my fault. My thing is you chose to do that shit. Just know that you're going to have to deal with that. But just because you know how many white kids have put what they have done out on social media? A lot.
Everybody
Like
do
and
they
that
because
have
though.
put so much
and
shit
that's
out
my
here.
point.
They have
Everybody
put way
does it.
more shit out here than black kids ever have. Like they out here like showing them raping other women, all this. Like they have done exponential stuff that I'm
And the
like,
reason they get away with it in comparison to us, because we
no,
don't
you
have
know
the,
why? Because they don't lie to their parents. Because they don't have no fucking money. They have to deal with their parents who have the money. But at the same time, black children, and I want people to stop thinking this bullshit about, oh, black people don't have money. Yes, and the fuck we do. There are black children out here who come from money, who are getting screwed over.
again, you talking about we talked about percentages in Utah being at 5%. Us as a whole in the United States is only 14%. So we still talking about a drop in the bucket. So when you talk
Right.
about the difference between black and white, the reason that white kid is comfortable putting what they putting on there because they do know that their parents has enough money and backing and enough intelligence and have secured lawyers and things of that nature. You tell me how many people you know in the black community who have a lawyer just because that's their family lawyer. How many black families have a family lawyer that you
This
know
is the
right
bad
now
part.
today, with the
No,
exception
this
of
is the bad part because I'm an officer and I'm a kid of officer and I know people way beyond that. Like even before I became a cop, their attorneys, they kids are cops and they kids is attorneys. Yes. No, it's this is the thing. A lot of people think that no, we don't have those connections. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. It's just
I'm
a
not saying
matter
there's not any,
of
but I'm not.
using
I'm
what you
saying that
have.
typically you're not raised with that. You being a police officer and coming from a officer background, yes, it's going to be different. But in general, just coming up and thinking about people you were around, or just people now who have an attorney that they have
Yeah, none of the
on
people I was
a
around
regular
was
basis.
lawyers or none of that. None of that. And think about we gotta think about this. We got a 17-year-old, now 18-year-old kid left Illinois with a AR-15, shot some motherfuckers, killed two people, injured another one, and now he on trial and probably gonna end up getting off. And it ain't because he got a great lawyer. It ain't got nothing to do with his lawyer. It got everything to do with our system and how corrupt it is and how fucked up it is.
Nah, it ain't got shit to do
And
with that.
and
It
and
got
I will
everything to
say
do
that
with he's white. He white.
the
Like
prosecution is
this is the bad
shitty as
part.
hell in
I'm
that
not afraid to say
Rittenhouse
that.
case too.
It's because he's white. And that's just the truth.
Yeah, that's the
Like
reality
they
of where we
like
live. It don't
like
matter what
literally
state you in. All the states like that.
statistically, and we have seen this, black men have go upstairs. What you need? Look, and I have a black man as a son. Ugh,
Hmm.
biggest fear in the world. Trust me.
Yeah. So imagine and tell me what you think would happen to you if you sent him out of town to go guard some property because some white folks protesting something.
To do what?
What you think would happen if you sent him out of town with a gun to protest and guard some property, and he end up killing two people? She'll end up bearing some of that responsibility too.
Exactly. That's what's amazing to me about the case is how the mom is not, being looked after for charges being brought up against her for knowingly taking him across state lines. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting because the perception to a lot of people is that he was within his right and that the reason that people got killed is because they attacked him or attempted to attack him. But
Right.
again, we talk about cause and effect. It's like we were watching sports last week, and a guy from the Miami Heat, one of the Morris brothers, is twin brothers in the NBA. One of them did a hard foul on Jokovic, which is the MVP from last season, and not changing topic all the way, but just
Right.
anybody who's in the sports that saw that particular incident. There was a hard foul retaliated with. It was a dirty hard foul retaliated with another dirty hard foul, and everybody was up in arms. And it was amazing how people took sides in that, um, and how many people took the side of the person who did the second act, which was more egregious than the original act.
Right.
And I bring that up to say that people will look at and view things in a totally different way because of the environment that they come from and the way that they were raised, which is back to the topic that we having right now as to how black people may move and do things differently from white. I think in general, in this day and age, a lot of people are doing and making moves and putting themselves in legal issues because of what they're posting and what they're saying on social media in general. And most definitely, I think that is a lack of education on when you do get in trouble, how you're supposed to move and what you should or but shouldn't be saying. Like Shay is saying, keep your
Mm.
mouth closed at all times. You shouldn't even be doing these and talking about this. But my point is, in this day and age, people want things to be out there on social media so fast. They're talking about things literally on the scene of it happening. You got people making statements to the world in instances where they shouldn't be talking to nobody but a lawyer. And yes, they should be educated on it, but they're not. Trust me,
Right.
they're not. And that's the big challenge.
Yeah. That case, my man was getting chased by somebody and turned around and shot him. So
Right.
I mean, they being sympathetic towards him and thinking he a hero. He in a different state with an assault rifle trying to protect property with a deadly weapon, which you cannot do. Um, and then we didn't have, well, not we, but there were people out here who didn't have that same compassion for Trayvon Martin, who was walking home minding his own business and got attacked by somebody and tried to defend his life and ended up getting killed, who was also a child.
Right.
So yeah, I don't believe, like I don't know, we don't know what's gonna happen. I think the prosecution doing a terrible job in that Rittenhouse case. They didn't cross examination good. Um, I don't know if they just don't know what the hell they doing or what the case is. Um,
I'll say this. I think the benefit in situations like this is that we do have the opportunity to be made aware of what's going on in these courtrooms without actually being able to be there physically, whether it's or trying to be there financially. We do have opportunities to see these things as they unfold and be able to react to them. And I think sometimes the reaction, like Shay said, the reaction need to be more physical than monetary. It can't just be uh, throw some money in a GoFundMe. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be how do we spark change in that area if we're not going to be able to be there physically? How are we trying to help and engage those communities? You know, there's other ways it can be done. We can write to the legislation in that community. We can make phone calls to community activists in those areas and put those type of pressures on people
I
without it
agree
just
with that.
being financial.
Yeah, I agree
You
with
know,
that.
we do that every 4 years with getting out and voting and getting people to change their mind or their views on both voting and even just the process as a whole. So we have to continue to come up with ways to fix it because it's not going to fix itself. We all can agree with that. Nobody's getting ready to. I don't think nobody's getting ready to come and save us. We do have to continue to have conversations like this because for us, what we consider to be in our age group, the three of us here in our age group, we have to consider that there are so many young people who don't know what we think they should know. You
Right.
know, I say young people, I'm talking about young people that are raising their children. They don't know these things and they're not able to make decisions in their best interest, especially in cases where there's legalities going on. But good topics, man. Most definitely can be frustrating at times. But
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
when we see people in those areas that are considered to be very small amount of black people in those communities, ideally we would say, yes, get the hell out of there. What are you doing? But we need to continue to fight to where I don't give a damn if I'm the only black person for 20 miles. Treat me with the same respect you treat anybody else. Because if you're not, know that there's people willing to ride and do something about it. They're willing to challenge the rules and the norm in those communities that's unfair and unjust. We have to continue to be willing to do that because if we get the impression that we don't have your back because you're only 5% in Utah, maybe it ain't us riding all the way from Detroit out there, but Utah ain't that
Right.
far from some other communities that support us. Hell,
Right.
the whole state of California ain't far from Utah. You know how liberal they are out in California. They tend to support any and everybody as a whole compared to a state like Utah.
I I'm gonna kick in. Um, I heard a point that you made about young black men, and the funny part is Dan know, and you know too. I have a 3-year-old son, and I have 3 children. He's my youngest. Out of all 3 of my children, he is the one that I fear for the most.
That's your only
And
boy.
hmm,
That's your only boy, right?
that's my only boy. Well, I have a stepson, and he's 25, but I still even fear for him.
Right.
Ugh, I feel for him almost more than I feel for my little baby, for the simple fact that he's an adult in this world, and he knows, I can always, and he's my stepson, but at the same time, I've been in his life a long time, and he knows, hey, I can call Mama Shay for any and everything because that's my baby. But I fear for him extremely hard, and I fear for my biological son, who is only 3, very hard because I'm like, okay, I had you late in life. By the time you hit adulthood, am I going to be able to be the person that I am now to show up and kick ass? Because that, like, Dan, you know how I am. I'm like, I don't play with my children. under no
Well,
circumstances.
listen, if he grown, he
I want to,
shouldn't be
and I'm not
getting
one
no
of those
ass.
moms. Like even with my stepson, I have showed up for shit, and my stepson has been dead on balls wrong, and I'm like, love you, but no. But there have been times that he has been absolutely right, and I am sorry. I'm not gonna sit here and sit back and be like, oh, you know what? What did my son do? Fuck that. You're wrong. My son didn't do anything, and I'm not about to sit up here and let you fry him. That's not gonna happen. But
Right.
as a black mom with two sons that are in two totally different generations, it's interesting because I look at my adult son and I'm like, wow, he's doing good things, but I still fear for him. He's very dark skinned. He's very handsome. He's educated. But he's out here in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He's out here in the world. Like right now, my stepson lives in Atlanta.
Okay.
Atlanta. Not shitting on them, but I'm just saying. It's I'm fearful. I'm fearful for him. I'm fearful for my 3-year-old. It's like the fear that I have with my sons is completely different with how I felt with my daughters and how I feel with my daughters. Like I feel like I could send them out in the world with everything I'm teaching them and giving them. And okay, they can navigate and do this. But my sons, it's like even if I give them everything I got and they dad give them everything that they got, it's still gonna be someone out here that's gonna try to stop they shine. Like they
Right.
because they're black men doing good things. Like my stepson, he is out here doing phenomenal shit. Like he has contracts with major companies, all of that. And
Awesome.
he's like I said, he's a dark skinned kid, very handsome, very educated, not stupid. But at the same time, it's like, who's gonna try him? But because I'm I've always been that parent, and even as a step parent, I'm like, I'm not that mom. I'm not that mom for you to try my kid and think that I'm not gonna show up and show out. I'm not. I'm not that mom that's gonna let something happen to my son and then be like, oh, well, we're just gonna figure it out in the interim. No, fuck all that. We're gonna figure that shit out tonight. And
Mm-hmm.
then the rest of the bullshit, we're gonna figure out in the days to come. Trust me. But tonight, this is going to get fixed. Not because I'm
Right.
a cop, none of that. If my son is wrong, he's wrong. But I just can't. And because I have been a police officer for 20 years, and I have seen so many black men get fucked over and screwed, I really honestly cannot account for how many times that I was like, I'm just not going to do this. I'm just going to, hey,
You bring up two interesting points here that I want to touch back on. You first bring up the point about the type of mom you are. I call it willing to jump off the porch and make it happen. Back in the day,
shit, damn the
yeah,
porch. I'm going to jump off the porch, out the
right, right.
car,
Right,
off the
and all of
building,
it, all
all
of it's
that.
the same. When I say, I just use the phrase "jump off the porch," meaning you ready to go do whatever
Yeah.
for your family,
Oh, the
and
reason
we
you looking at the ceiling is because I can't hear you.
oh no, you're fine. And look like we lost Dan there, but we getting close to the end. We'll wrap up here, but I want to just cover those points. The first you brought up about protecting yours, and we most definitely. That is one thing I can say in the community. We typically do an awesome job of is we will jump off the porch for ours uh,
Yeah.
and protect them at all costs. So kudos to that. But I think somewhere you was going with it when you think about your younger son as you continue to age. can that jump off the porch be do whatever necessary? You know, as you get to a certain physical point in life, you can't jump out and whoop ass per se, not you personally, but in general, because I'd be worried about you for a long time, Shay.
Yeah. But you know what? This is the thing. Even with that, when you have, and mind you, I give kudos to the women that only have one kid, because I have a sister who only has one son, and that's my nephew, and I love him to death, and I'll give anything for him. But she only has one kid, so she doesn't have the backing of siblings.
Exactly.
My son had my youngest child has siblings who are my age and older, and he has siblings who are younger than me, who I'm like, yeah, okay, when I can't, I know they will do. And
Right.
I've been blessed with that, but at the same time, I feel like as black women, as mothers, and as a community, it needs to be that way across the board. And as moms, we should be able to talk to other mothers and be like, hey, what's going on with your kid? Blah, blah, blah. Shit hit the fan. You can call another mother and say, hey, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. And she could be a single mom with just one kid, just one boy. And especially, and mind you, I'm not saying we should not protect our girls, but our boys are so much,
But they the
I
hunted
don't
right
want to say
now.
more paramount, but it's like y'all are on attack mode. Like
The hunted.
y'all are getting attacked at every angle. And people
Exactly.
sit up
It's in
here
the
and
workforce.
want to
It's
say,
out in
oh,
the
y'all just
streets.
angry black men. No, you not. Y'all been getting attacked for 400 years, like, and plus.
Right. But just
This is nothing new.
to bring that point you bring home, I'm gonna try to bring it back to the first topic, which was the bullying in Utah, and we talked about the percentage of black people there and the challenges to it. So my point is the same way as we get to we'll say to a physical point in our life where we may not feel like we can jump off that porch per se, as I
Yeah, it's
used the
different.
analogy of earlier. So what we have to do is we have to depend on the generation that we had the most influence on at our most physical peaks. So, you know, your children that are a little bit older than your youngest, you know, you got a pretty wide spectrum there. We go from 25 to 3. What you were able to be to that
22.
25-year-old,
22.
what you were able to do for the older stepson versus when the youngest is that same age now, you won't be able to do things in that necessary physicality, but you will be able to impress upon others to help and do things. And that's what we have to do as a community in these areas where we may not be a large percentage of us, because it's not a
Mhm.
large percentage of us anywhere anyway. And as you just stated, which
No,
was my
actually,
next
it
point,
is.
as a
It's
black
just
man,
a small
we are
percentage
hunted.
in a lot of weird places.
Right, but I'm saying we're fortunate enough growing up in Metro Detroit and some of the metro cities where it's the
Right.
norm for us to be 80+%. But
And
any of us
that's the
that
thing.
travel know that
That's
that's
why I
not
was
the
like,
case.
it shit would be different if that family lived in a city where it was not 5% black. That if they lived in a city where it was even 50% black, shit would be different. Because for one, there is going to be some section of that community that is like, nah, fuck all that. This ain't cool. And
I,
we all
sorry
have
to
that,
cut you off.
but Utah don't have that, and I get it.
I want the people, I want our 5%ers in Utah, or if they're in North Dakota or wherever they are, I want them to know that, or feel like, I want us to get to a point where they feel like they can call on their cousins from out of town to come and help them out, because for whatever reason that got them being wherever it is that they at, they there. I don't think that
Right.
anybody, whether you 5% or you 50%, I don't think you should feel like you got to leave from someplace because somebody don't think you should be there. And as 5% or 50%, you have every fucking right to be wherever it is that you are, and you have a right to be treated with dignity and respect. We know it don't happen on the norm. I'm not being naive when I make that statement, but what I am trying to get across is the same way when we think about that black mother who gonna do anything for a kid. How do we get our community to a point where we're willing to do anything? And it has to be more of an educational thing, because right now when we say we point our finger, we say bad kid. That's all
Hmm.
they hear is that. So when we say black people don't stick together, that's all that we hear
No,
is we don't
this is the
stick
bad
together.
part. I and me being a police officer for 20 years, I do not believe in black people don't sit together. Bullshit. That that that
That's my
that
point.
that whole sentence
Exactly.
does not even add
That's my
up
point.
together. Because no matter where you are, it don't matter where you are. And mind you, I have been in other countries, other cities, and everything else. And something pop off, and somebody black steps in like, hey, hold on, wait a minute,
I agree with
because
you
we're
100%.
black.
And that's the point I was wanting to
But
make.
when you're in a station where it's very few of us, but at the same time, and I know there's gonna be some people like, oh my goodness, that slightly sounds like a contradiction of what you're saying. Please do not misconceive that I'm saying we all need to sit together and take care of each other. With there are white people in that community who do not agree with that shit. And and, and,
Exactly.
and the kicker is they have had their kid bullied. They don't care and they don't see color. They're like, hey, my kid was bullied too. So we still need to be open to the aspect of help,
Right.
no
And
matter
all
what
I'm
the color is,
and we
white,
agree. For anybody
yellow.
listening, we agreeing. We're not having a debate. We're most definitely agreeing.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no. I'm
putting
not saying
people
we're
out
having a
there.
debate. I'm not.
Oh no, I
But
didn't
I'm
say
just
you
saying
were.
it's.
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying for the
it's
listeners.
just.
People tend to think when people are having opposing points that it's an argument or a disagreement. We're bringing up
Oh no,
points on the
this the
same
kicker.
topic.
No,
And
first
the
off,
thing,
we've been family for way too long and cool way too long. We don't disagree. We agree to
right?
I
disagree
mean, it's
and be
okay
like,
for
hey,
people to
you feel
disagree.
Oh
like
yeah,
People
you going off
disagree
your
all the
option,
time.
but at the same time, like more likely than not, y'all have been awesome with seeing my point. I see y'all's, and especially I love the fact that y'all are black men and y'all have dealt with the
hmm
world,
appreciate that.
and y'all have still turned out to be optimistic and influential black men.
hmm But when I say
So
stick together, the point I bring up is, or I want to try to get across is, we have to do a better job of educating. I know we talked about it earlier. It's not a lack of education; it's a lack of understanding where and how to utilize that education. And you
no,
brought
it's a
up a
lack of
great point,
communication. Like this is the
right?
bad part. Think about this: how you talk and how we talked as teenagers and how our children talk as teenagers right now. Two different things. How young adults talk and how we were when we were young adults talk. Two different things. Like it is almost like men and women now. Like our generations are like men and women. Like what did you just say? That's how it is. We have to talk on a level with our kids where they don't. And the bad part is, I'm saying this
Her
because
Android
I have
going
literally
crazy.
sat down and had to talk to my 22-year-old, and she just at one point was like, "Oh my goodness, you just hate my life." No, I don't hate your life. I don't care. My thing is, I want you to make better choices. That's what I'm concerned with. I have no problem with how you feel. And she's like, well, I felt like you just felt like I wasn't shit and wasn't making good choices. Yeah, that's how you felt, but that's not what I said.
I
Our
think that
communication is totally different. Our like literally generationally, oh, this shit is funny because you're talking Greek and they are talking Italian, and then a little
I
bit
agree with you
Spanish
on that.
and a little bit English. Like we be like, huh? What'd you say? We don't get it.
I think because when we grew up, our parents,
No,
even
our parents
though
were straightforward. They gave no
it wasn't,
fucks.
no,
They whooped
I'm
your
saying
ass
as
and they
far
told
as
you
the
what to do, and you
technology
did it.
and the advancements we've made just in the last 20 years. So it's 2021. Just since 2000, the year 2000, or 20, yeah, 2000, compared to 20 years back from 1980 to 1980 to 2000, the amount of advancements we had in that 20 years from 80 to 2000 compared to the amount of transition and technology changes we've had from 2000 to 2021 is
Dude,
why we find
we
ourselves
went
being in
from
such a
Atari.
situation.
We went from Atari to Facebook to
But I'm
Snapchat
saying just even
and
how we
everything else. Like,
communicate with our kids and be able to keep up with what our kids are doing and can't do. We used to just all we had to do if we wanted to stop your communicating with people is we just unplugged the phone and you couldn't communicate with them
no,
except for at
that is
school.
not what happened. Nope.
And
Tell the truth.
I'm just saying in
Um,
general, you
if we
if you
wanted to
had
cut off
parents
your
that was strict
communication,
on it,
we was like, "Don't you touch it. Don't you touch it."
you could be
That's what parents
broken.
did.
They didn't have to take your
We was like,
laptop.
"Shit."
They didn't have to take your cell phone. All they had to do was take that long cord
And
from the
then not
phone.
only that,
So you
even
could,
when we were teenagers, oh, you know what? I can't find you. You don't want to answer a page when I send you a page. They was like, give me your pager. We was like, fuck. Oh my god. They
yeah,
gonna take my pager.
you
Oh, they
you
gonna take my pager.
if
Jesus
you took the kid's phone, you took their computer, they still could go on the smart TV and
Now
be on social media.
take a kid's phone. Look, my daughter, my 13-year-old, has been without a phone for a month. She walk around here like she dying every
I'm
day. She's like,
sure.
"Oh, look at this! My followers, they can't even talk to me.
She
Oh my
said her
god,
followers.
oh my god,
Her
Jesus,
followers. If we said
Lord,
something about followers back
they
when we
gonna
was growing
follow
up, they
somebody
think we
else."
was in the
I'm
cult.
like, and so what? So what? Oh my god, my life is over. I'm like, girl, if you don't quit.
I
I'm like, if
love
you
it. I
don't
love
quit.
it.
If you don't quit. She's like, bitch, you don't understand. Yeah, I do understand. But I don't give a fuck.
When I was a kid, I used to call to the house, and if I was supposed to be home by midnight, I'd call the house around 12,
No,
15,
no, 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 no. When
and
you
my
was a
mom pick
kid,
up the
what you talking
phone.
about kid? When you was like what, 16?
Well, I wasn't living at home too much after 16, so it was 15, 16, young, need to be in the house at a certain time. I would call the house, my mother would pick up, and I'd say, I got it, this for me. You can hang up. And that would give me another hour or two to be
Right.
out doing whatever I was doing. You don't have those type of
Hang it
opportunities
in.
now as a kid. You can't get away with those little slick things. But
This kicker.
I want to get ready
My
to
life
wrap up with you
was,
guys.
hey, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, I'm gonna take your car keys. I was like,
I'm not even sure how that works.
hold on. I bought my car. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
You live in my house. I was like, what the fuck? I
But,
bought it. She was like, I don't care, but
but
you
the
live here.
biggest challenge is, we thought our parents was crazy, but when we look at,
They
as I was
were
saying,
crazy in
the
that
20
age
year
and stage of
the 20-year
life.
difference in the advancements over these last 20 years compared to, 20 years from 80 to 2000 is such a big difference, and it's such a
Carl,
it's so much faster
no,
now.
Carl, tell
Everything's
me,
faster.
if we did not have all the shit they have now, we would have got away with so much. We would have been this motherfucker like acting a fucking fool. And
Oh
they'd have been
yeah,
like, what happened? What happened? Really? Because they wouldn't have known.
right.
Back then, they could track us. Like they would snatch phones, snatch pagers, and oh, where are your car keys? The hell? Now they like, now my oldest daughter, she got mad at me the other day because I was like, I already know where you at. I don't even leave your house. Bitch, I pay your phone bill. I know where you're at.
Right. A different world, most definitely.
Man. And then what cracks me up is when they sit here and they try to get away with shit that we try to get away with. And we like, I tried to perfect that shit and make it better, and I still
Didn't you
got
try
caught.
to get away with shit?
So when you try it, I already know. You can't do it. Can't do it.
Right. So, guys, we've been on for about an hour now, a little bit over an hour.
Hey, so Carl, what's your address? Cause I'm dropping my son off.
You could drop them off. I ain't gonna be here. You talking about the 3-year-old?
First
Yeah.
off, he will literally, you will come back and he will be frying bacon and eggs, and you'll be like,
I just
what the fuck?
I just posted something on the internet last week. I said these kids don't even know how to read, but they can go on YouTube and find any and everything they like to watch. Like, how's they doing that at 2?
Oh no, Phoenix know how to read. He can read. He can
He
read.
just don't do it out loud yet, maybe. Or is he doing that yet?
He's done it twice.
That's awesome.
And he's 3.
That's awesome. Most definitely.
But when we gonna go ahead and have another shooting contest?
Well, so I could lose.
He said so I can lose.
If anybody don't know, do not be trying to outshoot her at the range. You most definitely will get your feelings hurt.
Hey, look, Hunty, that wasn't my fault.
So it look like Dan having
I'm military.
some
I'm military.
difficulties
I
here.
do this. Yeah, okay.
No, I'm not military.
No, that's what damn. Oh, my boy got it. He got it. Yeah, okay.
Dan, you back? I just wanted to recap before we wrap up here for the night. First off, thank you, Shay, so much for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you on and see you. But we talked about the bullying situation in Utah. We talked about the racial issues just here in our Metro Detroit area, right in Bloomfield, at the high school out there. They actually walked out due to the blatant discrimination against
And I get
the
them all
black
credit
people
for
in that
handling their
community.
business.
And like Shay said, those weren't just the black students; those were white students who are conscious and know that it's not right. And that'll be the case in any of those situations, even in Utah, when we bring it to the forefront and talk about it on shows like this. I think it helps because everybody doesn't fit into that category. There's white people out here who despise racism just as much as we do.
Yep.
That Kyle Rittenhouse situation, we know that that's, I'll give my personal opinion on that and say that's BS. But the last thing I wanted to talk about and make sure that everybody know, and this is, I'm paraphrasing what you said, Shay, but knowing when and where to talk and to who to talk to, it's so important that those conversations are being had. Like we said, we grew up. You didn't need, you get in trouble for telling somebody how old your uncle was,
Yep.
or your older brother. You couldn't even, let alone be video recording them without them knowing, because while they sleep, or then had too many drinks and want to post it on the internet. We
Remember
would
what I
get
said?
we
Life
would
was different
we,
then. Your
we would get
grandma
a
be like,
whooping
"Hey,
for
what
we would
happened
get a
here? Stay
whooping for
here."
mentioning any of that. So most definitely trying to get back to that grassroots, but more importantly, trying to educate. And when I say educate, not in the sense of, yes, you can go and do your research, but when we see people doing and saying things, especially when it comes to legal things, too many times people are going to social media and posting and saying things that will get you jammed up. So just be
Yeah.
mindful of what you talk about and who you talk about it to. Everybody don't need to know about lawsuit that you have going on, because these companies, not to get into a whole drawn out story, but companies will have their lawyers and legal staff dig up and find things that you've said or done. We've seen multiple times where people have posted something on Twitter 10 years ago and it's coming back to bite them in the butt. So again, knowing
Like your
when and
grandma
who
said,
and
shut
what you should
up.
be talking about. I'll end that paraphrase with "shut the fuck up."
Yes.
uh,
Like your grandma
people
said, shut
people out
up.
there, you need to shut up and listen. And I challenge people this week, as you go through your daily day and you want to challenge something, ask yourself before you challenge it: are you talking to somebody who can comprehend, or can you challenge yourself to or communicate in a way that they'll understand and be able to get your point across? Because that's the challenge. We know the difference between right and wrong. How do we get that message across when we have to change it up from the way we used to delivering messages? Because that's the key. It's in delivering it. We hear it all the time in relationships. It ain't what you said; it's how you said it. So
Yes.
if we could do a better job of working on that, I think we'll be
Love
in a great
y'all.
place. But I'm gonna get off of here. It's been real. We had an awesome time tonight. Look forward to seeing everybody. Hey, look, we are in the home stretch of 2021. People continue to take care of your brothers and sisters out here. Continue to be safe. It's the time changed the other day, and now it's getting dark at 5:30. This is nothing new. It's been doing this for years. Make sure that you are being safe out here as we end out this year. And last thing, Corona is not done. Continue to be safe. Mask up when you're out in public around people if you can. Continue to stay safe, people. And um, I said last thing. I got one more thing. We talk about it all the time about checking in on your friends and family. We personally do that on a consistent basis, and I will tell you that I know I appreciate. I reached out to you, Dan, this morning. We talked about it. We can't assume that everybody just dealing with every day and now have no issues and no concerns. We need to continue to check on our people and ask them how they doing. How's their day going? How's their week going? Do you need anything? And be consistent with it. It might be 4 weeks in a row where the answer is the same, but you never know that fifth week they may really need you. So continue to be there for the people that's important to you in your life, because you never know when they'll need you, and you never know how much people appreciate genuinely being checked on. So people check on your people, and everybody have a wonderful week. Okay. Dan, it's been real. I appreciate you, my brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, have a good one.